I'm just outside of the class that I'm about to take with Dr. Leo, so I'm pretty excited about that. This is day one, and I'm in downtown Kabul. I just met Dr. Leo, and we had a nice chat. We've talked about a few things and got some questions answered, and I'll be sharing some of that information with you throughout the video. But I'm pretty excited about the class. Looks like it's going to be a little cloudy today, but we're having unusually warm temperatures for this time of year. And it's going to feel like summer today more than like fall. So we might as well enjoy it while we got it, because pretty soon it's going to get cool and the bees will be hunkering down for the winter. Hi friends, welcome to another edition of the Enjoy Beekeeping channel. This is part 2 of the long-awaited Dr. Leo Sharaskin visit. And man, it's only been a couple weeks, but it seems so long ago in some ways, and I wish I could have stayed longer. But we had a really nice time. There was a lot of nice friends there, a lot of nice folks. Beekeepers are usually pretty cool people, so I always like hanging out with them. So I've got some pictures of the beehives that were inside his classroom that I want to show you here. This one is one of his double-walled 20-frame Lands hives, and this particular model has a top vent, and Dr. Leo was telling us that he was getting a lot of feedback from beekeepers in states like mine, like in Georgia and down in the southeast, where they get a lot of hot summers, that this extra ventilation towards the top seems to be helping them out. And that's kind of what I've been doing with mine too, just by observing them throughout the summer months, seeing how they do beard up just a little bit. Not nearly as much as I get with my Langstroths, but then again, I've really gotten a lot of my ventilation issues. I think I've gotten them under control anyway. I do ventilate my hives pretty good, both the Lands style and the Langstroth style. So I'm just out enjoying this day, and it's gorgeous out here. So I like being outside whenever possible. So the rain finally stopped. We were having a lot of rain this weekend. And I've been wanting to get these videos all edited and put up for you so you could check them out. One thing I gotta tell you something. I need to get this out. If you've ever watched Dr. Leo's videos, you'll probably look and notice that, you know, he's thin. He's got like probably 5% body fat. But I had no idea how tall he was until I actually had my picture taken next to him. So that's my only picture that I have with Dr. Leo, was the one that I use in the on the thumbnail for the YouTube video. And I didn't think anything of it when I met the guy. He didn't seem like a giant to me anyway, but I don't know what it is about this picture. It's so funny. I went and I showed my wife. I said, hey, after the first day of class, I go, hey, check out this picture of me and Dr. Leo. She starts laughing, and I knew right away why she was laughing. I said, oh man. She says, you look like a little boy. And I go, yeah. I said, nah, how about that? I should have made sure that I drove here in my booster seat so I wouldn't, you know, be in a car accident. So next time I get my picture taken with Dr. Leo, please remind me to bring a step stool. I didn't think I was that short until I stood next to him. But anyway, that's just a little fun to get started with. But Dr. Leo is an awesome guy. I really enjoyed the time that we got to spend. And what a great weekend it was. One of the things that he mentioned is things that I've mentioned in some of my videos too, is about catching swarms. And he's got I'll cut right into the video where he's talking about the swarm that he captured in this tree, and he always catches one in this tree pretty much every year. And that's a really cool thing about bees, is when they do find a tree they like, they always seem to come back. So if you've caught a swarm in a tree, put another swarm trap up there the next year, and even the same year after you take one down. So here is Dr. Leo talking about that.
Welcome. And this is my piece of paradise, one of the spaces I like going to and just spending some time here in the quiet with the bees. And let's get started here, because this is where the whole apiary started. I showed you a picture of me hanging a swarm trap on the tree. This was the first tree I hung my swarm trap on, and this was the first swarm we caught here when we purchased this farm 12 years ago. And since then, This tree has been catching swarms for me almost every year. And when it happens, as happened with this one in this box, I just move it from there in the evening back to the ground. And whenever you pull your swarm trap, always replace it with an empty one at the same time as you're taking down the old one. Because if you cut a swarm, that means that there is a colony that's swarming within the flight range of the bees. And in nature, many of the colonies will issue 2 or 3 swarms. So that means if you replenish the boxes fast enough on the very same tree, the same summer, you can catch more than 1 swarm. I commonly catch 2 swarms on the same tree, and sometimes up to 3, which was my record. As you will see, I use anything from 14 lens frames to 24, 25 lens frames. Just these hives need to be managed slightly differently. If the box is smaller, then you need to be ahead of the bees. Don't let them get congested and completely run out of room, because it's not good for them either. If they have no more room to store honey, many of them will start packing honey in the brood chamber, filling the cells that are needed for brood production. And if you allow this to happen, then what will happen is that the reproduction will go down and the colony will get very weak by the fall. So in nature, bees are not collecting honey for the sake of having honey. We call them honey bees because we are fascinating with honey. But for them it is just a tool for survival and reproduction. So it is part of natural beekeeping to help them with that. So if you use a smaller box, you need to make sure they never run out of room. If you see that they start being congested, if you did nothing, they would just swarm. But you can take half of the frames there and put it in a separate box, creating 2 colonies out of 1, and whichever half finds itself with no queen will raise themselves a new queen. And by repeating the process, when every piece starts running out of room, you can increase your apiary very substantially, maybe going from 1 hive to 3 or 4 in the same year.
Right before we get into his workshop, he's got a solar wax melter. And these are really cool. I've built one in the past, and it got ruined just because it sat out and got wet and started to fall apart and decay. I got to build another one, but check out Dr. Leo's. He can give you some tips on what to do when you build yours. Here it is.
So this is my solar wax extractor. Any bits of old comb that I don't want to give back to the bees anymore, I put just in here, and I made it myself. It needs to be a smallish box that's really well insulated. This one has 1.5 inches of styrofoam inside. It needs to have shiny lining like aluminum or galvanized steel to reflect the heat back to the wax. Double glazed on top like a greenhouse. And then come closer. When I open it, you will feel the hot air coming in. And it's really hot enough not only to melt properly wax, but probably hot enough to bake yourself a dinner in there. Okay.
It's wrapped up in a sheet?
Yeah, I'll show now.
Okay.
All right. So the old comb that you get is not just wax. It's full of all kinds of impurities. So these are the cocoons. That's no longer the comb. So when you put the very dark comb in there, the high temperature causes the wax to melt and drain from there. But any impurity like the old cocoons, they stay behind and can later be discarded. Some people put in their swarm traps for this older smell of comb to attract bees. But I know that with lemongrass oil, I don't have to do it anymore. Anyway, so this is where this filter is coming from. Just take any kind of cotton cloth. It can also have an admixture of polyester, but cotton polyester blend is all right. So an old pillow, whatever, stuff it with your old comb and put it on a tray that's on an incline so it can drain from there. And there is this receptacle there. You can see the melted wax pouring down. So it's a very simple way of rendering wax that doesn't require electricity or you being there. Another option is to put the bundle with this wax from combs that were that dark the wax itself is completely clean. So all of the impurities are really filtered out and are left behind in this filtering bag.
So what do you do with this wax once you...
You know, we should be making some cosmetics and lip balms, but we are just so busy with other things, we never got to it. So I have a client who has a beauty product business in New York State, and they say we can buy all the wax that you can produce from your bees. So he's paying me $40 a pound for all the wax, and we just collect it until we have, you know, several buckets full of it. And he pays and we ship it to him to use in his beauty products.
And finally, we've got a little bit of Dr. Leo here in his workshop, and he's got some tips on frame building and doing some wiring, and I'll just again share a few brief highlights from that and enjoy them.
I sit into planks that are 1.5 inch thick by 3/4 of an inch wide. There are 3 planks on the website, and then you take these cuts. When it's still a plank, you just take these 2 cuts, and then you put the tanning jig or just the saw with the blade like this, and you slide it this way and this way to take these notches off. So this is that. Realize that this doesn't have to be as fancy. If you don't, or if you are intimidated in making the shape, you can make just the side bar 1 inch wide and all the way to the top. Now, if it is like that, going with 1 inch to the top, the only real difference is that when there is this thicker portion in the top of the end bar, when you put many frames together, if you have to transport the hive, there is propolis holding them together, so they won't be rattling back and forth. But exactly the same thing can be achieved if you have these frames without these. You just need to make sure that after the last frame there is some kind of wedge or a nail or something pushing them all together. As long as they are pushed together, they won't be rattling like that. If you let them be transported like that without taking precautions about them rattling, then yeah, you can damage a lot of bees. Then go with frames like that. So, but again, the only inconvenience of having a straight, narrow top sidebar like this is that you need to be more careful when moving beehives. For a long time I was just using nails and a hammer, but it takes a long time. So now we are using nail guns like this with the air compressor. We can build about 200 frames. One person can build 200 frames in a workday of 6 hours. It's not, you know, super fast, but it's fast enough to be efficient. So this jig is holding it square for you. It's very valuable because if you're trying to nail this thing together at the same time as you need to be holding it square and nailing it, this is tricky because the thing wants to dance and go all over the place. So what the jig does, it just holds the parts at the right angle for you. You put some glue there and some glue here, and then the whole frame is there square. Lying flat. There are free plans for this jig on the website. It's not very difficult to build, but then instead of struggling to maintain the squareness of the frame, all you need to do is just let it lie there, and you take this air gun and you drive the staple, and the frame is ready like that.
Well, after the weekend with Dr. Leo, we decided to take a different route home than what we took here because we had a lot of unpleasant truck traffic when we were driving up to see Dr. Leo. So we decided to go home through Mississippi. Actually, it was Arkansas, then Mississippi, then Alabama, and then finally Georgia. And man, I'll tell you what, if you ever take that route, it's really nice. It's gorgeous. Not all of it's interstate too, which is nice. So you get to get in some of the off-roads a little bit. There's still major highways, 55 mile an hour, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. And it's a really relaxing drive, very stress-free. And there's places that you can stop and check out along the way. Now, we were kind of on the clock, so we didn't have a lot of time, but we did make it a point to stop in Memphis to go check out the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid. So here it is in Memphis, downtown. If you haven't been there and you're on your way through the area, make this one of your stops. It's really cool. So I just want to say thanks again to all the new subscribers, and I hope you enjoy beekeeping. Have a great day, friends. We'll see you in the next video.